there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another Premier League preview, one of the last few. But to be honest, we don't really care about the games that much anymore, especially the preview part of it. But still a lot of news to get through. Where on earth has Mauricio Pochettino gone? Now, we did get an update on it today, so we will talk about that in more depth, as you can see from the title and the thumbnail. According to Fabrizio Romano, the deal is apparently 85 to 90% done. Make of that what you will. We will talk about that in more depth. Could Thiago Silva actually leave after just signing a new contract? That would be baffling, but we'll talk about that in more detail as well, of course, the situation surrounding Joao Felix, who apparently Chelsea are planning with for next season, which, you know, we'll talk about what we think that means. We discussed the Joao Felix Mason Mount situation quite at length in the last stream already, to be honest, but we will, I guess, kind of have to touch on it again. But also, Mateo Kovacic is apparently, there's a real possibility that he could leave as well. I mean, are we a football club or are we turning into a kindergarten? Because if all the flipping senior players leave, we're going to literally be a bunch of kindergarten children. Do you know what is this? Do you know what I mean? We will, of course, be joined by Lewis very soon as well. Once his stream is finished, he will join us. Damesh will join us very soon as well. But we are already joined by Aaron. Aaron, thank you for coming back on. I know you was on the last stream already, but sometimes difficult. And thankfully, you were available again today. I'll start with what do I want to start with? You know what? Let's start with the Poch situation. Just ask the boys as well later when they arrive. But I know we kind of touched on it in the last stream already in a way, but what's the holdup? Like, what's happening? Why, like, you know, earlier in the week, the reliable journalists were telling us how, yeah, we can basically expect it to be happening by the end of this week. Well, now it's Friday and nothing happened. And now we get from Fabrizio Romano, it's 80 to 90% done. And, you know, we'll probably get an agreement the next days. I'm like, what do you mean? When is these next days? Like, what could possibly be the holdup? Like, we all discussed it until we beat Bournemouth last weekend. I guess there was the theory that we couldn't or didn't want to announce anything, finalize anything before we were mathematically safe from relegation. But that's a week ago now. So what's the holdup at this point? I'm a little bit confused, I'll be honest, mate. Where do you stand on this? Because, like, surely there has to come a point where you're like, well, just questioning when things are going to happen.
It just seems like a really messy situation because even from when Graham Potter was sacked and then there was all these different names coming out, there was your, obviously, Poch, you had Nagelsmann, you had Enrique, and then slowly along the line, one of them would fall off, then another, and then it was sort of, okay, well, Poch is really the only one left. So at that sort of point, you kind of knew, yeah, Poch was going to be the guy, but it's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it feels like an eternity ago when we found out, yeah, it's very close to being done. They're just going through the contracts with the lawyers and all this stuff. I don't know what lawyer takes that long to go through a contract, but this should have been done a long time ago. And even if it was a case of they were waiting for the situation on the pitch to be more certain that we're actually surprisingly avoiding relegation, then we've done that now. So there shouldn't be any hold up. They should be able to announce it. But for whatever reason, they've decided, they haven't finalized everything and it's still only 85 to 90%. It should have been 100% by now. They should have been quick on the ball, got it sorted, and then started planning for the season, because there was a report saying that he's spoken to like Frank Lampard and Reece James and all this sort of stuff. But if you haven't even 100% completed the contracts, got it all signed and stuff, what's the point? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Get it signed, get it done, and then have at it with Frank Lampard, seeing who he thinks would be good, who he doesn't think would be good, speak to the players, get a sort of understanding of everything that's going on, and then take it from there. So to me, it just seems really weird that it's gone on this long, but hopefully sooner rather than later, they just get it sorted. I don't know whether they're going to wait till the end of the season now, because we haven't got that long left, but it would be nice to get that announcement and just know what sort of direction we're going in.
It would be, and that's exactly my point. Like, what is the direction we're going in? You were touching on that report. I think it came from Felix. I'll just bring it up. Where is it? An exclusive from him. Again, I don't want to undermine Felix by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm sure we'll have him back on the channel over the summer and stuff as well. But obviously, it's still not the same as like Fabrizio Romano or even Matt Law or whatever. But, you know, according to his information, he understands that Mauricio Pochettino has, like Aaron just told you about, already held direct conversations with Frank Lampard and Reece James, and told Pochettino called both within the last couple of days, as he wanted to get a feel for the squad dynamic, who leaders are in the dressing room, etc. And I think you make a good point, Aaron, because so how exactly, like, why is he calling them if things aren't finalized. At the same time, I guess things can be pretty much finalized, and you're just talking about image rights and, you know, sort of bonus payments, but they're not going to be actual like deal breakers. It's more like, you know, just to have a final agreement, while the deal in terms of the agreement that Poch will join us and we will have Poch join us is kind of already done. Is that how you see it when you read that? Because if we assume this to be true, I mean, then that's the only logical explanation for it, in my opinion. Because like you just said, if things are not even by any means agreed, why on earth would he be doing that, right?
Yeah, it's like, for example's sake, if I apply for a job and I have an interview and then I start talking to people who work there and saying, oh, so what are we going to be doing? I haven't been given the job, so how do I know that I'm even going to be in that situation? Even in football, you see it with, like, for example, football transfers all the time, where you could be at the final stages of signing for a club and then out of nowhere it falls through and you don't end up signing. So until you're not confirmed and it's all contractually signed and stuff, I don't understand what the point is in talking to people. If you're starting to talk to people and all of this stuff to figure out what you're going to do, why haven't you signed the contract yet? Sign the contract and then do all of that stuff. It just makes
exactly.
Sense.
I see it the same way. I mean, at the same time, I'm like, if he is very confident, like if it's more of his side that's slightly the hold up, and, you know, he knows that from Chelsea's side, this is basically like just waiting for him to get all the agreements done type thing, or agree to every small clause in the contract or whatever, then I guess he can have that, what's the word, like autonomy to like make that kind of call. Because if it's down to him, and that just shows that, well, he's down, it's just, you know, minor details to sort out. But still, 85 to 90%. What are these last 10, 15%? It's very interesting for me. Very, very interesting. And Lee Taylor in the chat, I've seen a lot of messages from you already. We will talk about the whole Silva departure and everything. We will talk about that a little bit later. I mean, he says, just say that Pochettino will be appointed to take charge from 1st of June. Just say who? Me or the club, or what you're saying? Because that will happen. But at the end of the day, the only once a deal is finalized, right? Because if Fabrizio Romano is correct, then it's not fully finalized. Well, then he can't exactly be doing that, can he now? I mean, I still see some, hope we do a U-turn and sign Nagelsmann. It's not us that needs to be doing a U-turn for that. I still think that's more Nagelsmann than us. But the whole Jose thing, do you really think he even wants to leave Roma? He's on the verge of taking them to a second European final in consecutive seasons. And last year was the Conference League. This time it's the flipping Europa League. So fair play to him. I saw a lot of people talking about yesterday how it's arguably more impressive for Roma to win the Europa League under Jose, especially after having just won the Conference League last year. Guardiola theoretically winning the Champions League with City. So that's a whole different conversation. But so now Tony will cost 100 mil plus, says Frank. Well, I'm not sure if he said that. I haven't seen it yet, but fair enough. But I mean, let's see. I don't think until a verdict on his ban has come out, no one knows how much he's going to cost, personally. But yeah, Poch is, I mean, there was another bit of kind of news a little bit earlier in the day about the Pochettino situation. Where is it? When I have so many bloody tabs ready to go. Like, this is what we had earlier in the morning. And then I quoted this saying, like, because Chelsea talks with Pochettino moving forward to the final stages after contact in the last 24 hours. Nothing is signed or done yet. Chelsea want to make the best choice and they are taking their time. That's it. Well, you've clearly long made your choice, because otherwise there would still be other managers in the running, and they're clearly not. So this is not about making the right choice anymore. Like, it's long past that, in my opinion. Like, whether it's right or wrong, but it's long the choice is Poch. But like this final stages thing, and I don't want to like go too deep into each individual like comment by each reporter, but especially ones whose mother tongue isn't English, so you can always kind of twist it a little bit. But I swear we've been in final stages for like 3 weeks. I know I basically just asked you a similar question, Aaron, but how? How have we basically been in the final stages for about 3 weeks? At least that's what it feels like. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. It feels like it's been a very long time. I feel like we've known for a while that it's going to be Poch at one point or another, but there's no reason for final talks and all this final stages stuff to happen for that period of time. I understand it when you were saying, like, contractually, if you're talking about image rights and all of that sort of stuff. That kind of makes sense. But then surely it doesn't take that long. You figure that shit out quickly. You put it in a contract, you sign it, and that's it. It's done. So for whatever reason, when they say, "Oh, taking time to make the decision," you've clearly made your choice because there's only one person in the running. You can't decide between two people when there's not even two people in the running. So you've got your man already. You know who it is. So then just get it done. Like surely it just makes logical sense.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to find this Chelsea loan thing situation, whether I can find it, because I saw a tweet about it. There it is. There you go. Is it? Is this the correct one? Yes, there you go. Because that might be something interesting to talk about as well. But yeah, what can I say? I mean, we will maybe touch on it again once the boys join, but for the time being, I can just sit here and say, just get it done. Like, I know, Aaron, remind me, you were not pro Poch when it first came out, were you? Like when the link first started to appear.
Yeah, I think more so for me, it was kind of like the whole history with Spurs. That's the main thing that put me off. And I get it. People say like, "Oh, okay, so you have an issue with Poch being ex-Spurs, but you'd take Harry Kane in a heartbeat." And I do kind of get it's like a double standards thing, but especially with managers, we tend to always give managers to Spurs and they end up doing shit. We've never gone the other way. He's going to be the first manager, I think, to go from Spurs to Chelsea. So there's always that bit of apprehension when you're like, oh, these are like pretty much our biggest rivals, and we're taking one of their old managers who they see as like a club legend who got them playing at their most successful point, got them to a Champions League final, all this sort of stuff. So you do have that sort of apprehension. I don't think it's anything to do with his qualities as a manager, because no one can deny it when he was doing the things he was doing with that Spurs side where they had no right to be anywhere near a Champions League final, but he got them there. And he was playing good football with them as well. They're playing good attacking football. He was developing players like Dele Alli, who at the point when he was with Poch was one of the most exciting young talents in the world. So he does have a thing with young players, and he's able to play really good football, which is credit to him. It was just mainly the fact that he's ex-Spurs, which was kind of like it puts you off as a Chelsea fan because you don't really want to be taking your rival's ex-manager who's beloved by all of them.
No, exactly. I do agree. And that was kind of a similar starting point for me as well. I've warmed to it is maybe the wrong word, but like I've obviously just the more research I've done, the more I'm like, okay, well, he does at least feel like he suits us quite well. So in terms of what we need, what we're lacking, what we're still striving for. So that's, I guess, the tough one, my days. But yeah, it's a difficult one. Oh, we are joined by Lewis. Thank you for turning up, Lewis. Pick up the Lewis rate, of course. Appreciate it very, very much. And like Gav here says, like the stream, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to Xavaschlager in a minute, Lee Taylor. But I quickly wanted to, well, I was going to ask Aaron about this. But Lewis, I'll just bring you in. What do you make of this Pochettino situation? Like, how have we been in final stages of talks for about 3 weeks? Why is it only 85 to 90% done? Like, sure, 85 to 90% isn't bad. And like, you know, could be worse. And at some point it will be announced. But what's the flipping hold up? And I feel like we all agreed weeks ago that it would be great if Poch doesn't take over straight away, if at least he's like in and around, maybe says hello at the training ground, is in the stands for the games, like gets a bit of an overview of what's happening. And the more this is dragging on, the more I'm like, well, brilliant. He will get to see us against flipping Man City, Newcastle, and United. So like, he's not going to, I mean, he will learn something from that, but also not, because we are dreadful at the moment. So how much will you learn when we play teams who are just a lot better than us, right? But what do you make of this? Like, why is it not done? Does it annoy you that it's not done? Or are you so convinced that it will be him that it doesn't really matter if it's last week, next week, today, whenever it's announced?
I feel like people are just worried that it might not happen. And I get it because it's been taking so long, but I'd be very surprised if it isn't Pochettino. So I don't mind it, but it is a bit annoying. But I'm more annoyed from like a content perspective.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to get this Pochettino stream over and done with because we know it's happening. I want to be ready for it when it happens.
About
so
17
we're waiting every day. What was that?
It feels like we've done about 17 Pochettino announcement streams already.
Yeah, like the buzz is going to be gone now and everything. Now it's just like, oh, Pochettino's been announced. Big surprise there. Big surprise.
Exactly that. It's just a weird one. Before I get to Damesh, I'll come to you in a second, bro. I do want to highlight this comedy about Blue Lounge. Big up to yourself, by the way. At some point, we will manage to get you on the stream, but at some point, we'll make it happen, bro. But he says, I think Pochettino is making demands and essentially saying that's why we've not fully done yet. And he says he's happy to see this, as it sounds like he wants to run the squad independently of the owners. Do you take this kind of hold up or the delay in things being finalized and announced? Do you take that the same as Blue Lounge does, Lewis, or could it have different reasons for you?
It might be a case of demands. I feel like that probably would make the most sense because I get like you want to make sure you got the right person and everything, but negotiations with one person shouldn't take this long. So maybe they are butting heads over something, but even if that's the case, it looks like he's still clearly their number one pick. So yeah, maybe that's a positive, I guess, if that's the case, but it's too speculative right now. It could easily be something else.
Yeah, there's a good point. I mean,
big up Blue Lounge, though. Big up.
There you go. Damesh, thank you for coming on. I know people can't currently see you. Let me drag you up. I know you don't have the camera on anyway, but that's your icon. There you go. Pochettino, obviously, we've discussed it plenty of times, what we think of him, blah, blah, blah. But like me and Lewis have just been talking about 85 to 90. Oh, he's gone again. All right, Aaron, I'll ask you, do you agree with the Blue Lounge in terms of that could be why it's taking longer, or do you disagree with that?
I feel like you can agree or disagree, but no one knows, so it's all speculation. No one's going to be able to say, but I think even if it was a case of demands, if it was that big of an issue, I think we would have already heard that, okay, they would have just said, okay, you're not the man. If it was like a big issue, they would have just been like, yeah, sorry, not for you, and they'll find someone else. The fact that there's been no news that it's like, that's in jeopardy or anything, and they're saying it's pretty much almost done, tells you that it's probably not a big deal at all. So even if it is, I wouldn't be too worried. But I think the biggest concern comes from like the fact that it's taken as long as it has when we've been at the same point, it feels like, for such a long time. That's sort of what gets people a bit worried. But I don't think it's anything to really look too much into about demands.
There you go. Fair enough. I mean, these comments here by Varna, I have to drastically question him. I mean, he says, I love Poch. He was the manager I always wanted besides Mourinho. Fair enough. At least, we will have passion back at the bridge. Okay, fair enough as well. But that Spurs comeback over Ajax, you and me work very differently, bro. When they finished that comeback, I got up and left. I was watching this game at my mate's house. I was like, nah, we're not handling this. Flipping.
I remember watching it with my ex and we didn't speak to each other for like 5 minutes. You just sat there in shock, like they're gonna fucking win the Champions League, aren't they?
Yeah, thankfully they didn't, but
I was fuming.
I get it. Like if you only look at the Poch side of things and disregard that it's Spurs, his reaction in that is something that, especially this season, we were kind of missing, I guess, or a lot of people were kind of hoping for to see again from like Potter and stuff, but it's just a weird one. I mean, let me bring up a comment here, and I'll start by asking you that, Lewis. RD says he's not fully happy with Poch. We were talking about that 10 minutes ago. Therefore, not winning trophies next season under him, in his opinion. I mean, you can agree or disagree with that, obviously, Lewis. But for me, the bigger question is, what manager even exists where you're like, yeah, we are winning a trophy next season? Like, we are not in a position, in my opinion, as much as we, as Chelsea Football Club, want to win trophies every year, we're not in a position to just sit here and say, yeah, we're definitely winning a trophy next season and be sure of it. Like, I don't care who the manager is, whether it's Jose, even bloody Pep Guardiola. I don't think we're in a position where we can be certain that we will win the trophy next season, regardless of who the manager is, right? Or do you think there would have been a manager where you would have been more confident about that than you are with Poch?
No, like Poch, Nagelsmann, and Enrique, like if we have one game a week, and the right window, we get the squad fit and everything, there's no reason why we shouldn't be making a cup final. Like we got one game a week. Like we can take those competitions a lot more seriously. We don't have to rotate players in them. We can play strong 11s throughout the tournament. Why not? Like, look, I get this season's been crap and everything, but let's just deeper. The only reason why we didn't go far in either cup was because we drew City away twice. Like, what are we gonna do with that?
Yeah,
like it is what it is on that regard. I think next season we should 100% be looking at a domestic trophy, be it Poch or whoever. This team is capable of doing it, and they should be able to do it once we clear out the squad and we bring in the right players.
There you go. I do agree. I mean, Aaron, how do you see it? Like, do you give us a chance of winning a trophy next season? Because one thing I will say to what Lewis just said, the cup games will still mostly be midweek until the later FA Cup round. So it's not then quite one game a week, I guess. But because you don't have the Champions League games, you can play stronger squads in the cup, I guess. But at the same time, will we even want to do that? Because yes, we will reduce the squad, but we might not reduce it quite as much as we are all hoping for. So therefore, we will probably have to rotate in the cup purely for giving also other players game time. But back to the initial point of RD here, Aaron, do you think there is a manager where you're like going into next season, you're like, yeah, we're therefore winning a trophy? Because that's the part I disagree with. Like, you know, that's just where I'm like, how can you think that for anyone right now?
I think you could put God in charge of Chelsea and he's not winning you a title next year. So I don't think there's anyone out there, no manager. I don't think you could bring Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti, Jose Mourinho, no one. You could bring like the most highest caliber of managers. I don't think anyone is winning anything with Chelsea next season. I think the main aim is to be a lot more competitive than we were this season, get back towards that top four, sort of get in and around that, get back into the Champions League, start developing the younger players, giving them more game time, playing better football. That's the most important thing right now. I think the whole trophy talk, as much as we're used to pretty much winning some sort of silverware almost every year, I think kind of for the next season, we probably have to park that and just focus on properly rebuilding and getting back to where we want to be. But it's going to be a bit of a longer term thing than just, okay, Poch is going to come in and then win a trophy next year.
There you go. Fair enough. Shall we talk about the big, in my opinion, at least, the biggest elephant in the room? Because slightly concerned when I initially saw that today. I mean, we saw some reports of this yesterday, and Aaron, you in our group chat asked Pice about it, and to him it was like, well, the reports from Brazil haven't been from particularly good sources in Brazil, so kind of laughing it off initially. But now, Matt Law has obviously come out and said that Chelsea may let Thiago Silva return to Brazil this summer if he informs them that he wants to. And then, you know, he clarifies it at the bottom to be clear, no suggestion Chelsea want to offload him, etc. But if he wants to go, there's a good chance they won't stand in his way, given age, service, and emotional attachment to Fluminense. But what I find weird about this, like, he just signed a new contract. So, and I know that was not that long ago, but still, when he signed a new contract, that was long after making a lot of signings in January. That was long after having no hope of being in the Champions League next season other than winning the Champions League. And okay, maybe Thiago Silva is such a winner in his mind that he's like, yeah, of course we're going to beat Real Madrid and of course we're going to win the Champions League. So, but surely you wouldn't sign a contract on the basis of that, right? So I mean, Matt Law didn't say anything in terms of that he has informed us that he will leave or that he will want to leave. But why does he even mention it if he hasn't heard anything about it? It's a strange one. I mean, Lewis, I'm sure you spoke about it in your stream as well, but what do you make of this? Like, and would it concern you if he did leave?
From what I read about it, there was an article, I think, in one of the Brazilian papers, that was saying that like he's close friends with Marcelo, and he's gone to Fluminense, and they're in a very good position where they could win the Libertadores this season. And to him, it's like he'd want to go back there, achieve a trophy he hasn't won yet, and then maybe go and retire, as opposed to being at Chelsea, who aren't going to be contending for the league next season. I still want us to keep Silva. I don't think he's going to put up a fuss if we say that we want to keep him. He's a sort, like, from the way he handled the move from PSG to Chelsea, he's a sort of guy who sticks to his word. So he knows he signed a contract 3 months ago. If Chelsea say, no, we want to keep you for this year, it is what it is. And I think he'll stay, and like that will be the end of that. But I don't know if they will keep him in spite of that or if they'll let him go. I think we still need the leaders. Like Aspie's going, Kova's going. We've lost Jorginho. We've lost Rudiger. Kante hasn't re-signed yet. I think we still need some veterans in that dressing room. And Silva's still our best centre-back. So I would rather us keep him, but I mean, if they end up letting him go because of it, like, I won't be too angry, only because like I feel like they're just doing it out of a courtesy and out of respect to him. And if that's the case, fair enough. I guess I can't be too against it, but I would rather us keep him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. For me, it's like, so if Thiago actually asks us to leave and like, you know, asks once, and then we say no, but say he asks again, then I'm like, let him go, man. Like the guy's 39. You know, he's done enough for us. We've got a defender and a character, a leader, a personality. Maybe Legend is slightly stretching it. I don't know if Legend is stretching it. If he wasn't,
I'd give him the legend tag.
You think he was here long enough to be that?
Sticks. I think it's allowed if you're consistent enough through that era, and he has. He's been our best player. You could argue he's been our best player throughout that run. So,
oh yeah, a million percent. Since he's joined, he's been our best player, other than when we played West Brom.
Yeah, other than the West Brom games.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I mean, certainly on the verge of legend or great, whatever one. I'm not trying to have this debate, and people can't come for me for not calling Thiago Silva a legend. Certainly on the verge of it, regardless. But so I wouldn't be like, I would understand if the club were like, well, we're not trying to, have an unhappy Thiago Silva here, but it would still be a little bit like, well, why did you sign a contract a couple of months ago? Then it's not even 3 months ago, is it? Like, when did he sign it? Like
3 months. I think it was 3 months ago.
Was it? Was it in January? I mean, I guess that would make it February.
Anyway, I think around then.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Why it would concern me, and you can elaborate on that in a second as well, and then I'll take it to Aaron. And I think Dalmesh was just in his car, and he was kind of... he will be back soon, I'm sure. But how do I want to word this? Like, we can't let all of our experienced players go. Like, we're signing seemingly all young players. I mean, that's what we've done so far. I say that. Sterling, Koulibaly, Aubameyang, sure. But it seems like that the owners are like, well, first summer was a mistake. So, like, how likely is it that we're going to sign some more experienced players? I guess if we let too many of them go, maybe that would change their mind. But we're at a point where we're about to start a kindergarten rather than a football club. Like, imagine Thiago Silva leaves, Aspi leaves, Kovacic leaves. The only older player that would stay, Aubameyang obviously leaving as well, the only slightly older player that would still be here, being N'Golo Kante, and he's the quietest one of the lot. So, like, I mean, RD was talking about winning trophies. Bro, if your entire squad is between 21 and 24, you're not going to win fuck all, because how are you going to compete with the experience that Man City, that Liverpool, that even bloody Man United have when your entire squad is a bunch of babies? Like, it's impossible to compete with that. Like, that just turns us into another cup team, in my opinion, because all of those young players are still good players. On their day, they can still be anyone. But over a league season, lack of experience will cost you consistency. So, isn't that the last thing we want? Like, that's why I'm concerned. Like, the rumors of Thiago Silva leaving, the rumors of Kovacic leaving, and also if Thiago Silva wants to leave now after signing a new contract, that would kind of scare me in terms of how much I believe in the project, because I'm like, if Thiago Silva would be leaving it wouldn't leave. Do you know what I mean, Lewis?
Yes, but I'd only say that'd be a bit more worrying if Silva just wanted to leave in general. I think he sees an opportunity, and that's why he's considering it. If it was a case of Silva wants to leave Chelsea, he's going to hand in a transfer request, and it doesn't really matter where he's going, then it's a madness.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really worry myself too much about it. I think he just sees an opportunity, and fair play to him, because we're not really in a favourable position right now, whereas they're in a much more favourable position, and it's back home.
But would their position be so different, say, a year later of Fluminense? Do you know what I mean? Like, why not wait another year?
I think we'll be back in the Champions League next season if we play our cards right.
Oh, no, we will. But in terms of the Fluminense situation, like, if that's what his thing is, like, win another trophy over there. Look at him now at nearly 39. He can probably still do that at 40 as well if he wants to. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but about the age thing, about the lacking experience, if all of the older players do leave, like, is that a concern for you at all?
Kind of, yeah, because we've seen how it's impacted us already.
Yeah.
Look at the impact of losing Jorginho and Rudiger in the dressing room. You can even go further back and look when we lost John Terry back in 2017, how that impacted us. Drogba in 14-15, how that impacted us. I think we need to keep Thiago Silva. I think he'd still do a great job for us. He's still our best centre-back. People talk about phasing him out all the time, but I feel like they're all trying to anticipate when you need to phase him out, but we don't need to do that right now. He still walks into our team blindfolded. No, exactly. We don't need to talk about the future until it's there. If Thiago Silva starts declining next season, fair play, we have the centre-backs that can rotate around it, and it's not even going to be a problem for Silva. It's going to be like, oh, finally, you're nearly 40. Now you chose to decline. Fair enough. At least we got a good few years out of you.
No,
It's not that
exactly.
deep.
And
There's
if he
no
did
risk
leave,
to
like,
keeping him.
wouldn't you also think that then we need to replace him? But then we need to replace him properly, and that would change the whole summer again, because all that has been talked about so far is we want a striker, we want a midfield, and we want a goalie.
No, but
Now,
we do have the
obviously,
centre backs. We don't need to go in for a centre back whether we keep or sell Silva.
But do you not think? Because
No,
then
like,
all the other centre. I mean, obviously Koulibaly. I guess I forget about Koulibaly all the time.
Koulibaly, Badiashile, Fofana. You've got Levi Colwill coming back. You're gonna have Chalobah still. You might even keep him if Thiago Silva leaves. That's 5. Like you're fine whether you keep.
The numbers is less what concerns me. It's more the lack of experience. I did forget about Koulibaly in terms of when I was speaking about older players. If Kova and Thiago leave,
Koulibaly, Badiashile, Fofana back 3. Like I'm not gonna complain with that.
Yeah, but it just concerns me, like the lack of experience here as well, lack of experience at the very top level. Because Koulibaly is a top player, but when he was at Napoli never really did anything. They never made it far in Europe. They, other than when Sarri was there, never even came close to winning a league title. So I don't know. I just be concerned with there not being no experience other than flipping Raheem Sterling in the team. Do you know what I mean?
I hear it, but here's the thing though, because Koulibaly is the most experienced one there, but he's got errors in his game, as we've already seen enough times. Fofana and Badiashile already look like they're experienced veterans already. And I would be able to go in with full confidence with either of them. Chalobah, yeah, he isn't really gonna inspire that sort of confidence. Fair enough. Levi Colwill as well is a little bit too young, but he's in good form. I think he'd be in good hands there as well. You'd have to rely on someone to step up. Reece James potentially. If he's still here, Mason Mount. Sterling, yeah. I don't know. Kante. That would be
but
about
that's the end of it, unfortunately. Then,
that's
like if Cover is to leave as well, it just concerns me. It just concerns me. And then when Esteban says this here Red Bull model, here we go. Exactly, that's what worries me. Exactly, that's what worries me. Because yes, they do well in terms of getting players from one club to the other, and finding talent and everything, but they never win anything. Now, okay, they're in the German Cup final this year, sure, but a cup final isn't going to do it in the grand scheme of things for us, right? So, like I say, if you have a good team of talented players, there's always a chance you make it through in cup runs, whether that's internationally when we're back in that, or domestically in our domestic cups. But consistency, you're never going to beat Man City's consistency of Rodri and De Bruyne and like all these experienced, proper stud players. You're not going to compete with that with a bunch of babies. Damesh, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it very much. I think earlier you joined from the car and were like, oh, now I'm back in. This was not planned. There you go. Sorry, bro. I'm not sure how much you've been able to follow it, but not necessarily there's been big reports that Thiago Silva wants to leave. There's been a few smaller reports from Brazil, but according to Pice, not exactly the best sources. But now Matt Law has obviously said that if Thiago Silva was to inform Chelsea that he wants to leave, Chelsea most likely wouldn't stand in his way. But I still find the whole idea, and I quickly want to touch on the next bit of this tweet by Pice here from Matt Law's report, obviously, where he says Silva made his frustration at Chelsea's disappointing season clear following the Champions League elimination to Real Madrid, accusing co-controlling owners Todd Bowley and Igbali of making an incorrect step. Now, I'm not sure if any of you guys heard of this, and obviously jump in if you have, but I thought I saw some Portuguese teacher on Twitter say that this is actually a misquote because obviously Thiago Silva spoke in Portuguese in this interview where he said this incorrect step thing. And according to this person, I don't know if they're lying or telling the truth. I don't speak Portuguese, not a clue. But that guy was saying that incorrect step was talked about in terms of how bad we were in the first leg. Therefore, when he made the interview after the second leg, we were like, well, we already ruined it last week type thing. But seemingly the translation that made the rounds was, well, yeah, it was incorrect steps in terms of signing players or this or that. But again, Thiago Silva signed his own contract extension after the January window. So after we signed so many players, after we were so bad in the league that we basically knew we weren't going to get Champions League then already. Like I touched on this before you joined, Dames, but okay, maybe he in an ideal world was like, yeah, we're going to beat Madrid and win the Champions League. But realistically, like, I would just find it ridiculous if now all of a sudden he's like, no, I don't want to stay. I'm like, bro, you signed a contract in like February. The situation wasn't that different in February compared to now. Other than that, Potter was still here, I guess.
Yeah, bro. Big up yourself. Big up the chat as well. Yeah, man. It's a weird one because I guess one of the reasons why Thiago Silva initially came was because of Frank Lampard, because obviously it was in Frank Lampard's season. I think what sort of motivated him to stay even longer after Lampard was the arrival of Tuchel. Then obviously there was that redemption to win the Champions League again. With Tuchel, because obviously they lost it the year beforehand with PSG. So there was that incentive to go again and win the Champions League, which obviously them two successfully did for us. So yeah, it's one of them where I think now that Tuchel's gone, I think Thiago Silva's, I guess, mindset in terms of the manager has slightly put a concern in his mind whether he should stay long term. And I think we all knew that it wasn't going to be like a 6-7 year sort of deal with Thiago Silva. We knew he'd be there for about 4 to 5 years, which I guess it will come to that. So yeah, but I guess with all the talk that was happening with him with regarding to staying, and now to suddenly change his mind, I'm not sure. I don't think he's too keen on potentially the project that's going to be happening with us with Pochettino, who looks like it's going to be the new manager for us. So yeah, it's just it's a bit strange, but at the same time, like
I
we've
mean, yeah, I
always
guess
wanted
maybe
to.
he's not a fan of Poch, and that's why. I guess.
Yeah, but I guess also like I think I've always said like we always needed that sort of extra centre back in a way, whether that's we recall one of the loan players or we buy another centre back, because eventually Thiago Silva was going to leave anyway. Like we all knew he was going to leave, but these centre backs that we sort of had in the past, like Christensen, Rudiger, we didn't at the time when Lampard was in charge, we didn't know if they were going to leave or not, if that makes sense. But then obviously last year Christensen and Rudiger didn't re-sign, obviously with their own specific reasons. So yeah, I've always said that we needed to sign an extra centre back just to have that cover for Thiago. So whether that's Levi Colwill breaking into the team, or I know Guardiola's name's been mentioned as well, but I highly doubt we go for him. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one.
It absolutely is. I mean, David says here there's obviously going to be a Thiago Silva banner, I think, in a Matthew Harding and the shed actually tomorrow. I guess theoretically that could change his mind, but we don't even know whether he even actually wants to leave or not. This though, Vic, I would say misquoted is maybe the wrong word for me, but mistranslated is maybe what I should say, rather than misquoted. Because like I say, he gave this interview to Brazilian media. I don't think Thiago Silva follows English media that closely, personally. So I'm not sure about that one. Aaron, I'll finally take it back to you. Your thoughts on this Thiago Silva situation. Like, what do you make of it? Did you see him leaving? What would you like? Would you be concerned if he did leave in terms of losing even more experience?
I think losing the experience is the biggest issue more than anything, because we don't really have much of it left in the squad. So it's kind of like I'm not too sure who then becomes the main leader, because you've only got Kante, who's a more older player, but he's so quiet that he's not really a leader. And then other than that, you've just got the younger players.
I would say that same thing almost applies to Koulibaly. He doesn't seem exactly like the most vocal guy.
Yeah, and the thing with Koulibaly is he's not had a great season. His confidence probably isn't there, and he's probably not as profound in English either. So that's another thing to think about. But I wouldn't be too concerned if he left. Obviously, being our best centre back, it is like, oh shit, like you don't really want him to leave. But when he's age 39, he's still got his aspirations to play in Brazil before he retires. He's not got that long left in his playing career. I do think with the service that he's given, you kind of owe it to him to say, okay, look, you know what, you've done a good job for us. We really appreciate it. You go off and have your moment in Brazil. You retire a happy man, and that's it, sort of thing. So I wouldn't be too against it, but same way, I do think if he does that, then we do have to bring in someone more experienced at the back, because I don't think you can go into another season with just Koulibaly, Fofana, Badiashile, and Levi Colwill. I don't think that's enough experience in the back line, and that's one of the places where you need the most experience, to be honest.
Yeah. There you go. It's like I say, it's a bit of a concern for me. I mean, let's take it to the next news story, which is basically mainly about Joao Felix, but I will get to that in the follow-up tweet. Pies basically alluded to Fabrizio Romano on his video stream, whatever it was, saying that it's also a concrete possibility that Kovacic leaves Chelsea. And again, that just highlights even more like the whole situation of how many experienced players are we going to let go? Right, Aaron? Like, if it's just Thiago Silva, okay, we can probably somehow swallow that. But if it's what feels like all of them, it's just difficult. Now, to be fair, there've been a few rumors or whatever that Aspie might actually not leave, because obviously signed Julia Condra, and he's like, well, I'm going to stay alone for another season, even if he will not play much. So I guess that will be experience, but also not experience on the pitch though, because with Reece James and Malagusto, Aspilicueta ain't going to play, is he? I don't know. I mean, Aaron, what would you make of Kovacic potentially leaving? Kovacic is one that seemingly divides opinions drastically. I feel like this season, now he's obviously not had the best season, but who has? Like, other than Thiago Silva, who actually played a good season, right? And even Thiago Silva wasn't amazing all the time. No one played a good season at Chelsea. So I think judging by this season is harsh, because judging by this season, you'd think that entire squad, every single player in our squad is dreadful. So I don't think you could just say, oh, this season he was bad, therefore he is bad. I don't think that logic is quite what we should go by. But would you be bothered by Kovacic leaving, Aaron? I mean, usually I tend to be like, in terms of judging by who's interested in a potential player leaving, that will usually tell you whether it's a good or bad idea to let that player leave. And apparently City, Bayern, all sorts of Man United, all sorts of huge clubs being interested doesn't exactly scream to me that it's a smart idea.
No, I completely get what you're saying there. I think it's difficult because he's not had a good season at all, and at times it just looks like he doesn't really want to be here. And I feel like, unless I'm wrong, I feel like there has been reports saying that Kovacic isn't sure about his future, might want to leave the club, this and the other. So I think fundamentally, if a player doesn't want to be here, they shouldn't. That's more important than anything else. If you don't want to play for the club, go elsewhere, because that's what we need. We need players who actually want to play for the club. Like you see with the amount of passion that Madueke has. He's only just joined the club, but the way he speaks and the way he talks about the club, that's kind of what you want in every player. And I just feel like
still people are telling me we should sign fucking Rafinha.
Yeah, leave that one out. But yeah, just with the whole fucking hell, I just sidetracked. What was I talking about? Yeah, Kovacic.
Kovacic leaving. But I think you make a good point. Like, if he wants to leave, it is what it is. Like, if he's not happy anymore, he's not really performing to that level.
It's not the be all and end all at the end of the day.
If it's just cover, I can handle that. But if it's cover and Thiago and them and him, then it worries me a little bit. Like I say, I don't want to be a kindergarten.
Yeah, but the thing is as well, even if Aspie stays, he's not going to be on the pitch, so his experience isn't going to count for anything. So it doesn't matter whether he's here or not. And I think we're all so fed up with him that I'd rather he just left. So I'd rather he went off and done his own thing. But it just doesn't change the fact that we're going to have no experience on the pitch. So it does raise concerns, because you need to have those experienced, more mature, older leaders on the pitch in order to actually bring the team together.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, Lewis, your thoughts on Kovacic potentially leaving? Would you be upset by that? Would you be happy if he actually left? Or is it a case of, well, if he wants to leave, there's no need stopping him? He's not that vital. But, like, how do you see it?
I'm not too fussed, really. Like, he's been a good servant for us and everything, but he's, I think, around the age of 30. He's not had a great season for us at all. We do kind of need to revamp the midfield anyway, and we need to clear out players. So if he doesn't want to be here, that's fine. And his performances have kind of looked like that anyway. I don't really care, to be honest. Like, 40 or so million, I'm fine with it. Big up. Thank you for all the memories. Peace.
Fair enough. Damesh, is that how you see it about Mateo Kovacic?
Yeah, as Lewis said, great servant for the club. Very underrated, I think, as well, for the first sort of like couple of seasons. A lot of people didn't want to initially extend from loan to obviously signing him permanently. But yeah, I think he's been great. But yeah, it's time to move on. He's easily replaceable, I think, as well, with the players that we're sort of linked with. But yeah, and I think we can recoup some of that 40 or 50 million we spent on him as well. I think we can get at least half of that back. So yeah, it is what it is. I mean, every player has to move on at the end of the day, and we should as fans as well. So yeah.
It's just unfortunate when they all do it at the same time, and it's all the experienced ones at the same time. That's when it concerns me a little bit. But there you go. That's the Kovacic chat done. I'll stick with you, Dums. Chelsea are planning with Joao Felix for next season. It will be about the negotiation with Madrid in the next weeks. Now, obviously, this is no guarantee for anything, but Fabrizio, the way he worded it, said we are planning with him for next season. My logic, and I quoted the tweet with that as well, to me, keeping Felix only makes sense if Mount leaves. Because even then, you could argue by having Nkunku, there's a bit of a debate whether Felix and Nkunku in the same team make any sense. But if Mount leaves, I can at least see some logic to it. But if there is even still a chance of Mount to stay, and according to Fabrizio, we are still trying type thing, and there's obviously been reports that we're back in negotiations with him, and Poch wants to keep him as well. I know we discussed this quite at length in the last stream. Obviously, only Aaron of you guys was here in that, but what do you make of this? Like, it's not like I think Joao Felix is a bad player by any means, but we're not going to sign him permanently this summer. I just don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be another loan, if at all. And then we're paying another, 16 million apparently for a season-long loan for a player who's not even going to be a guaranteed starter because there's going to be Nkunku. So I just don't really see the point. Now, of course, if you kept Mount, there would be another player on big wages and stuff. But at least we wouldn't have to pay 16 million to keep him only for a flipping year. Plus Joao Felix big wages on top of that. Nagelsmann got rejected by Spurs, did he? I haven't read that yet, but fair enough.
Interesting.
Very interesting. But yeah, I mean, Joao Felix, what do you make of that, Dams?
Yeah, I think since he's come in, obviously the stats haven't really gone to his side in a way, but I do think we look sort of more fluid compared to before. It's just having the right players around him, I think, and a stable midfield. It's like a domino effect of having a good goalkeeper, having a good defense, sufficient fullbacks at times as well, stability within the midfield as well, and the attack as well. So I just know, but it's just crazy because I know if Joao Felix ends up going to, let's just say, for example, hypothetically, Arsenal or Manchester City, for example, two of the best teams right now in England, I just know he's going to absolutely kill it there because they have such stable teams and such good depths of squad, I guess, as well, in terms of quality and positions. And I think Felix will be one of those players that if we let him go to a City or Arsenal, I think he's going to be he's going to explode, man. He's going to be so good for them. And I just think that with Poch as well coming in, I think he can get more out of Felix as well. And yeah, I do agree with you with the fact that it should be either Felix or Mount. For me, I'm taking Felix over Mount any day. On sort of technical ability and goal output as well. I know Mason Mount had a 30 GA season, if I'm not mistaken. But
this season or last season?
Was it last? I think it was
last season. He had more than 10 goals and 10 assists. I don't know how many exactly it was, but he had, I think in total 20 something.
Yeah, something like that. But even then, I don't think Mount
Felix hasn't done that since he was at Benfica, mind you.
Yeah, that's true. But I just think if we have the right players around this guy, I think he could be really good for us. And I guess we'll see how Felix and Nkunku do in the same team together under Pochettino. It's just one of them we have to sort of wait and see what kind of players, what kind of midfield, and what kind of sort of defense and goalkeeper we sort of have around him, because it's all a system based kind of thing. It's like going into a new role where you're in one team and then your other team, for example, within the company isn't doing their job properly. How you meant to sort of succeed if it's not a well-oiled machine in a way.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Because I agree with what you said in terms of if he went to a City or an Arsenal, he would do really well. I agree with that. But where I'm questioning whether I care about that, because we need to worry about us. We need to worry about us getting back to being a good team, and us having too many players that don't really fit in the team together. That's not really helping us in getting back to that. So as much as he might fit them, if it doesn't fit us, it is what it is.
But then who do we get in? Say if we do let Felix go, for example, and if Nkunku isn't the guy that it doesn't hit the ground running, doesn't do well, what player realistically can we bring in to sort of be better than Felix? Or I just don't know if there's anyone better out there, to be honest, with the opportunity we have.
But we're already signing Nkunku anyway. So do we need another one? Do you need to sign any other one in that specific position after you've already got Nkunku coming in?
I still think so, to be honest, because I'm always looking at Man City as the example. These guys can play multiple positions. We've seen Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, we've seen Kevin De Bruyne. So I know obviously it's different positions and stuff, but they can all play in that sort of midfield three or in the front three, minus Gundogan. But with Felix, he's quite versatile as well. He can play obviously as a centre forward, a striker. Obviously, he's not as good as a striker, but I see him more as a centre forward, a centre attacking mid, I guess. So and I think the competition will be great with respects to that as well, with having Nkunku and Felix trying to fight for that spot in the team. And who knows, they might be able to play together. We don't know that yet. Let's see what Poch does, I guess.
It's very true. I mean, first we have to even see if Felix stays, but
yeah,
it's just that the whole too much. Like, I'm usually not against competition, but when you're not in Europe, competition can also be a bad thing. I will say that. I mean, here is apparently a tweet. Tottenham do not intend to meet with Julian Nagelsmann. He is not currently a contender for the manager job. Spurs rejected Nagelsmann, but do not consider him for them at the moment. That I do find interesting. Lewis, obviously, if you want to touch on the Spurs Nagelsmann thing, do. But otherwise, Joao Felix, that Chelsea are planning with him. Are you in a boat as well where you're like, it's got to be either Felix or Mount, or can it be both? Because, well, seemingly we're apparently planning with Felix, but we're also trying to extend Mount's contract. So I just don't see the logic. I just don't see the planning.
I think with Felix, it's going to end up being another loan move for him anyway. So I think that's like, it's only going to be like 15, 16 million. So it doesn't seem like it's that much money in a sense. But it does have to be one of Felix or Mount. I believe that Mount's leaving most of the year, to be honest. I just don't think that they're going to come to an agreement. The fact that we're still in May and they haven't found an agreement, they've been in talks for most months of the season. I know they took a break between like February and April, but it doesn't look likely that he's going to re-sign. So it's going to end up being Felix instead of Mount. If Mount re-signs, fair enough. But like, I haven't heard anything that's a step forward. Just sounds like they're still in talks. Pochettino wants to use him. Well, if he doesn't re-sign, he ain't going to be able to use him. And that's not going to impact the negotiations at all. Like, they have their valuation of him and that's it. So the way things are going, Mount's going to leave. Joao Felix is going to be there as the alternative to him next season. That's the way I see it.
That's the way you see it. And do you think Felix and Nkunku together make sense? Especially when Felix, like you said, on a loan, it's going to be like, considering it's only 1 year, it's an expensive loan, covering all of the wages as well. Like, it's just done that in terms of for the last 6 months. Can you really say it's been worth it? As much as he's looked good and he's one of the guys that has, got you off your seat the most in terms of this Chelsea squad for the second half of this season. He also got you to sit back down relatively quickly again after he made you get up. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, the last pass wasn't there. The shot either hit the post or straight at the keeper 95% of the time. Well, I'm like, is that the kind of player we should, who can cause like positional issues and like, is that worth it? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it wouldn't really be a different issue to what we already have. Like,
no, exactly. But it's an issue now. So shouldn't we try to solve that issue rather than keeping the issue?
But I feel like Felix is better than both Mount and Havertz in that regard. And Nkunku, like, I don't really know. I need to see what he's like at Chelsea, but it's a very low bar. Like, he would have to do a lot to be lower. So I think it might be a positional issue, but you'll have better technical players. And that would breed better results. Like Felix, he needs a bit more time to adapt to the Premier League. If we had him on a full year, we'd be saying the same thing. But we have him on 6 months and we need to make a quick decision. That's why we have to be a lot more harsher in our judgment of him. But he's looked good, but there's been areas that he needs to improve on. A lot of players have that when they transition to a different league. So that's why a loan move is what's better for everybody. We don't have to commit to 88 million to him. Atletico don't have to take him back and figure out what to do with him. And Felix gets a lot more time to adapt and to be judged a bit more fairly. So I get what you're saying, but Felix and Nkunku would be better to me than Mount and Havertz. So there would already be an improvement.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, compared to Mount and Havertz, I could probably agree with that. But to me, it's just like, to me, Nkunku and Mount make more sense than Nkunku and Felix, just of having those two players are just, they can play the same position, but they can also play different ones. While if you have to play Felix in a different position to Nkunku, then you're just playing him wide. Or you're playing Nkunku up front, which I don't think will work well in the Prem personally. But there you go. I don't think Aaron is quite back yet. But to be honest, he's spoken enough about Joao Felix the other day anyways. Let me get to another one because, and I haven't spoken to you, I think Lewis or Dams about this, goalkeeping situation. And Fabrizio said that one of Chelsea's directors is appreciating Onana in a special way, so therefore they are monitoring him. That I do find interesting. So it's like one of the directors. Yeah. I mean, what do I make of that? And also the follow-up below what Fabrizio said, I think in Milan's mind, Mike Maignan is worth more than £85 million. Mike Maignan would be my first choice in theory. Lewis, I'll stick with you for once. Is 85 million too much for Maignan and therefore someone like Onana is an acceptable choice? Or what do you think of the goalkeeping situation?
I initially thought it was, but he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Like at a club that would 100% need him, and he's one of their key players. So, no, not even. Well, I think 85 million is fair. You could try and lower it, like maybe do 2 separate deals and send another player to Milan on the cheap. But like, I get it might price people out, but that's the whole point of it. Like, they don't want to sell him, and he's on a multiple-year contract, from what I remember. So yeah, that's just, you got to do what you got to do with that one. I understand it personally. He's a quality goalkeeper.
And you'd rather Maignan than Onana, or would you be happy with Onana as well?
I mean, Onana's great he's great on the ball. He's a good shot stopper. I don't really know too much about him commanding crosses or anything, but I haven't heard that's a problem. Yeah, Onana would be a fine goalkeeper for us. I wouldn't mind that. Probably would be better value for money in terms of the fact that he's probably going to be half the price, if even that. But yeah, I think he'd be good. Would he be Maignan's level? I don't really know, but have to see.
That's where my concern comes from, because do I trust that Onana is long-term? Actually, I think Kepa is a good goalkeeper. Maybe not quite good enough for Chelsea, but still a good goalkeeper. I think Onana is a good goalkeeper who I'll have to see if he's good enough for Chelsea by him being here. If he turns out he's not, then we spend 40-odd million on him. And then in 2-3 years' time, we will spend another 40, 50, 60 million on another goalkeeper. So when I look at then that, it might just be worth splashing for Maignan. But at the same time, obviously, FFP and not just financial fair play because we're not in Europe, but also the Premier League's financial restrictions, they obviously hold a little bit of a, dooming light over us, I guess. I don't really know. It's a tough one. I'll just bring another one up, another goalie rumor, just before I asked the other guys in terms of a collective goalkeeper response, I guess. Where is it? There it is. According to a report from Argentina, Chelsea and Manchester United have confirmed their interest in Emiliano Martinez, who wants to leave Aston Villa. What about him, Lewis? Prefer him to Onana? Prefer Onana to him? My big concern with him, I don't think he's that good with the ball at his feet. And people have told me Poch likes to play out from the back. So that to me, just as much as Martinez is a bit older and therefore maybe makes the path for Slonina back into the first team a bit easier and a bit more straightforward, I'm still not sure we should be going for Emi Martinez, I can't lie.
I don't know what he's been like post-World Cup, but I remember his save percentage before that was terrible. So I don't know, but like Villa have been much better over the last month or so. I'd expect Martinez to be better as well. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I don't know what Villa would ask for him. I think they've got him for another 4 years or something. So they don't need to get rid of him. They're competing for Europe. They've got a good manager that can take them up places. They shouldn't really be getting rid of a key player like Martinez. So I don't know. I don't even know if he leaves personally. But
no, that is a good point.
I don't know.
It seems like Villa are interested in a lot of top players. So I don't know if he'd really want to leave. I don't know. Aaron, I'll take it to you. I decided I've made you speak enough about Joao Felix and Kunku and Mount and all of that in the last stream. So just spared you that one. The Onana situation. Onana, but also Maignan's price tag down here, £85 million apparently, or to be fair, Fabrizio actually said worth more than £85 million, not just £85 million. And the links to Emi Martinez. Where do you stand on the goalkeeping situation? Like, I think most people seem to have accepted that Kepa is probably leaving, although Fabrizio actually says the order of priority at Chelsea in terms of which positions we want to sign is a bit different to some other reports that we've seen out of England, where they seem to have said striker, goalie, and maybe midfielder. Fabrizio is more like striker, midfielder, maybe goalie. What's your thoughts on this one, Aaron?
In terms of goalkeepers, I think Onana and Maignan are both big upgrades on what we've already got. I think I haven't seen like crazy amounts. I don't watch Italian football, but when I've seen them in the Champions League, they seem to do very well. I know I've heard a lot about Maignan being very, very good this year, and yeah, definitely be a big upgrade. But I think in the interest of already spending £600 million in the previous windows and complying with financial fair play, I think going for Maignan would blow like most of the budget we have, and I think we've got other positions we need to address where it's going to cost us a lot more money. So I think that one automatically sort of rules itself out. But then Onana being a little bit cheaper as well, he's a quality keeper. I don't know all that much about him, just sort of visually what I've seen of him. He looks very good, so I wouldn't mind that at all. And Emi Martinez is a difficult one because he started off his life at Villa very well, but then he did go through a pretty hefty slump. So I haven't really kept up with it too much, seeing how he's got on post-World Cup. Obviously, winning the World Cup fills you with a lot of confidence. He probably thinks he's a bit of a big bollocks now because he's a World Cup winner. So it's one of them where it would be good because he's older, a bit more experienced, a bit more mature leadership sort of thing. And as you said, it paves the way for Slonina, who we've already got into to sort of make his way into the first team at some point. But yeah, out of them three, I'd probably say Onana based on like the price and everything else when you take into it. I think Onana would be the first. But if we hadn't spent as much as we had before and we had more money, then it would have been Maignan 100%.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a tricky one for me, because just me personally, I might sit here and say maybe I'd rather wait another year for Maignan. That might get him a bit cheaper and have Kepa for one more year, because I'm like, is he good enough to win us the league? No. Is he good enough to get top 4 with him? Yes, because we've done that before. So for me, might it be better to just wait for a better goalie for another year if we can't do it all at the same time than just forcing a replacement who might long-term not be quite good enough either? I don't know. I understand I'm one of the only few that says that, but at least not fully my opinion, but I'm like, I wouldn't hate it if the club decide, okay, we want Maignan, but we can't do it right now, so let's keep Kepa for another year and get Maignan next year type thing. But
what if we just got rid of both of our goalkeepers and then had Slonina and Bettinelli?
Well, that would be bad, wouldn't it?
I mean, we could get another keeper, but just stick Slonina in the first team. That's one way to build him up.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah,
it can't be much worse than some of the. Don't get me wrong, Kepa's been good at times, but for some of the things that he's done this season, I would not mind seeing Slonina.
But then you've also never seen Slonina, or I haven't anyway. I'm not sure about you, but
you're about to be surprised in a good way. That's all I'm going to say. I've seen some clips of him actually in the when he's been playing, and yeah, boy's good. Boy is good.
Yeah, but clips doesn't like if I showed you some clips of Kepa this season, you think it's the best goalie in the world, man. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure clips are default, but there you go. Like I'm not saying he's not good, but I'm just like I don't know. I don't know quite how good he's going to be.
Aaron investing in Slonina stocks right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
When they're low, that's it.
Bro, I'm investing early. You wait. When he rises, yeah, I'm cashing out.
There you go. Dams, sorry. Did I already ask you about the goalie? I forgot now.
No, I don't think so. No.
There you go. Then elaborate on it. What's your thoughts on the goalie situation? Onana for like half the price to Maignan, or wait for Maignan, or just go for Maignan, or go for someone like Emi Martinez again? If Poch wants to play out from the back, we shouldn't get a goalie that isn't good with the feet at his, with the ball at his feet. Then you might as well keep Mendy. Do you know what I mean? But what's then the point in bringing Emi Martinez in? So it's a difficult one. Although you've told me that Nagelsmann was only prepared to consider Spurs jobs based on sporting director who support his own ideas. Rangnick wanted to be sporting director. He was ushering Nagelsmann to go to Spurs so he could go with him. All right, calm down, Rangnick. You're manager of the bloody Austrian national team. All right, know what your job is. But yeah, Dams, on the goalie, what were you saying?
Yeah, I'm actually going to throw a name out there that you guys, I don't think anyone's mentioned. I'm not sure if the chat has, but for me, my number one since sort of this goalkeeper talk started has been ter Stegen. I don't know how you guys feel about that as well, but I feel like that's the goalkeeper we should be going for. I think we can get him for a decent price. They're very experienced, won a lot as well for Barcelona, and I think we can get a good price for him. Good with his feet. Commanding as well in the box from set pieces, which has been a massive thing for us. That's been sort of lacking this season with Kepa. So yeah, I fully think we should go for Ter Stegen. If not, then
I mean, I'd be
maybe
fully
Emi
down for
Martinez.
Ter Stegen. I just don't see it happening. I don't think he wants to leave Barcelona unless Barca need money so badly that they are willing to let him go, which I don't think they will be because he's
Well,
kind of one of the
there's the
foundation
Leo
for
Messi
their
thing, isn't there?
success this season. Like, why would he leave now? They've just made it back into the Champions League. They're winning the league. Like, why would you leave now if you're him, right? To us,
But like
especially.
obviously the Leo Messi stuff, obviously they're gonna have to try and raise some funds somehow. So that's why they might sell some of the assets. Like obviously
That's why they want
Rafinha's-
Oba for free, the stingy bastards.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I
There's
just
that as
don't
well.
think Messi will return to Barca. I don't know. He will just go to Saudi Arabia personally, but we'll see about that one. Maybe in a couple of years he will come like do a year of Saudi Arabia and then go to Barca. Maybe after he's bagged around 400 mil. But yeah, I mean, like I say, Ter Stegen. When we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and we were more, theorizing rather than talking about actual links, I was bringing up Ter Stegen as well for similar reasons to you. If they need the money so badly that they might be willing to let him go, at least try. Like, call them, ask, is there a chance you let Ter Stegen go? If they say no, well, it is what it is. But if they say yes, we should most certainly consider it. I do agree. I just don't think they will.
Yeah, and I think for me as well, I think my number two, like say if we didn't go for Ter Stegen, I think it's between Onana and Martinez for me. I think depending on the price for both of them for me, but I think whatever price for Ter Stegen, go get him. But I think maybe I think nothing more for 40 million for either Onana and Martinez. I think will be great business for us, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah.
Ter Stegen's all well and good, but you're forgetting Laporta is a bit of a knobhead as well. So trying to
and also Busquets is leaving now, so that's huge wages off the wage books as well.
Yeah,
So
they're a lot closer to securing Messi than you think.
Yeah, well, it all depends on how little money Messi is willing to play for. Really, that's kind of the.
If he really loved them, he'd play for free. He's got enough money.
Absolutely, but he also, he probably loves his family more than Barcelona. So there's like,
bro, he's not exactly short of money, is he?
I would prefer 400 mil to doing something for free. I won't lie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then if he really loves Barcelona as he says he does, then go help him out, man.
Yeah, there you go. I'm personally not on board with a couple of people in the chat on Jan Oblak. First of all, he's not very good with his feet at all, and also ever so slightly getting slightly past it, I guess. But yeah, the last bit of news that I want us to discuss before we talk about tomorrow's actual game. Where is it? There you go. Now we're apparently going to change the way we do our loan army, essentially. Under Chelsea's new strategy, led by sporting directors Paul Stanley and Laurenz Stewart, only players viewed as genuine first-team prospect will be sent out to on overseas loans. If Chelsea feels a player is not benefiting from the program or is not in the plans of the manager, the club will look to sell them on. Lewis, what do you make of this? Obviously, Chelsea we've funded a lot of things we've done. We've built a lot of the things we've done on the loan army over the last decade, I would say, maybe even more than that. What do you make of it that they want to change? Obviously, we also have to consider that the FIFA rules are changing in terms of how many loans are allowed. I think it's 7 or 8 outside of your own country. I'm not sure if there's any limitation to within England or if it's just a higher limitation, but the drastic limitation is outside of Europe. So outside of your own country. So that to me makes sense that you're like only the ones who will really believe in that they could play a part in the first team in the coming years. Only those guys get the big, abroad loans. But then, like, where are all the current loanees going to go then? Now, sure, some of those contracts run out, but not all of them. Like, where's Ampadu going to go? Are we going to find anyone to buy him for the money we want? What about Aubameyang? Are we really going to find someone to pay money for him? Or is it going to end up being some stupid loan because we apparently don't want to terminate contract? So what do you make of this? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? What do you make of that?
I don't. So what I said, only players viewed as genuine first-team prospects will be sent on. Yeah, I'm fine with that. At least it stops us just hoarding players for the sake of it. Like, we're only focusing on loaning out the best players that we want to actually use and not just sell for some profit. It means that we're kind of like, what's the words? It's like a clear out in itself, not just the first team, but like just the loan army, the academy, everything. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's fine with me to some extent. It's concerning for me a little bit where I'm like, it depends on how early, like at what age we start that kind of theory. I guess obviously the younger ones can still go to League One, the Championship, lower prem size, whatever. I guess we can still do that. But yeah, no, in general, I do agree it's a good thing. And I think sometimes the loan army was brilliant. And on other occasions, it also maybe shooting us in the foot is not exactly the right word, but how many loans didn't work out where we didn't actually make money from it? Sure, some players we loaned out, they improved, we sold them for more money. That's fine. But some of them also didn't work out. Bakayoko, Ampadu, Dujon Sterling, like I can name countless. Now, Dujon Sterling wasn't outside of England, fair enough, so it wouldn't be quite affected by this. I mean, bloody Lukaku is out on loan right now. Like, how are we going to find anyone to sell him to? Do you know what I mean? It seems like we're not planning to keep him, but I just don't think anyone's going to want to actually buy him from us. Aaron, what do you think? Is it a good thing to restructure how we plan? Obviously, part of it is through the rule changes of FIFA anyway, but do you still think it's a good idea that we slightly restructure this and try to focus on ones that we fully believe in to make the first team, to get the very good loans rather than having 30 players out on loan all the time?
I do think it's a good thing, because then your main focus isn't spread over loads of different players, and some of them don't really come up to anything. Whereas if you have your talent pool and you think, okay, these are the set players who we think are really gonna do well, they're gonna progress well enough to have a future maybe in the first team, or you can develop them, sell them on for a lot of money, then it makes a lot more sense. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to sit there wasting your time on younger talents who might not be able to really command anything for you. So you're putting a lot of time, effort, money into them, and then your return isn't worth it. So I think it does make a lot more sense. But I think on the flip side, you're going to see there's going to be instances where you're going to let go of some players who then go on to do pretty well for themselves, and you look back on it and you think, oh shit, maybe if we just not changed the structure of the loan army and we actually kept it as it was, we would have retained him. He could have contributed to our squad, or could have got some money for him, that sort of thing. So it has its pros and cons, but ultimately I think for the longer term benefit, I think it's going to be a good thing.
Fair enough. And the last bit, actually, which I probably should have brought up as we were talking about Thiago Silva potentially leaving, even though I still don't think he actually will. According to Italian reports, and again, let's be very certain this is not very reliable news here, but still, Chelsea are ready to offer what it takes to sign defender Kim Min-jae from Italian champions Napoli this summer. Just quickly, Aaron, really? Is that what we should be doing? We signed their main centre-back last year, it didn't quite work, so now we want to sign the next one? Really?
We're looking at the wrong Napoli player. We should be looking at their striker, not their centre-back. He's very good, don't get it twisted, but I'd rather go in for their striker than their centre-back, to be honest.
I'd say just good luck getting either of them, personally. They just won the league.
Yeah.
We know how hard it is to negotiate with Napoli. I wouldn't even bother. It's a waste of our summer, personally.
De Laurentiis is an absolute nightmare.
Mafia
Exactly.
vibes, I think Barney might help, you know. Let's see the Italian Mafia against...
I think that's genuinely like the Rock v John Cena in terms of negotiations, bro.
That's the Rock versus Stone Cold. That's definitely
you know what, fair play.
Yeah.
But that's just long. That's just long, man.
Yeah, but the
Osimhen is going to be like 150 mil. Kim Min-jae is probably going to be like 100. It's pointless.
When is the next AFCON? Because De Laurentiis said that he's not releasing his African players for AFCONs and stuff. So surely that contributes to Osimhen wanting to leave.
It's a good point.
I just said you can't go play for your country, bro. This guy's
like when the next AFCON rolls around, surely
to be fair, we just did the same thing to Lewis Hall, really.
No, but that's because we need him.
Yeah, because we need him.
Yeah,
did you know about this?
Yeah.
So Lewis Hall was supposed to go to the Under-20s World Cup, which starts early June, and they obviously meet up as a squad now. But because we have Chilwell and Cucurella injured, we told them, no, you can't have Lewis Hall, and Lewis Hall now can't go to the Under-20s World Cup because we blocked him from going.
We blocked Lewis Hall from going to a World Cup for this shit. That brother's loyal. Fair play.
And it was quite funny in the press conference today when
fuck off.
When Frank was asked about it. He was like, so basically asked about how did Lewis Hall take that he wasn't going to be allowed to go to the Under-20s World Cup for X. And well, kind of the way he takes everything just without much of a reaction, which I found quite entertaining. He has a clause. Kim Min-jae has a €50 million clause.
Oh, okay.
I still don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
now we can talk.
How many? Like, was this his first season at Napoli?
Give him Koulibaly back or something.
Do you pay for Frankfurt?
Chuck a little bit on top, and that's it. Good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's his first season. He literally joined from Fenerbahce last season, and
from Fenerbahce. No. Let me alone with this stuff. Like, let him do a bit more in the Serie A before anyone bigger.
Listen, we've already been linked to one Fenerbahce centre-back. Last season, we got linked to that
That was
Salai
dreadful.
guy.
Still couldn't
stinky.
believe we were actually linked to him. And I still couldn't believe some people were trying to tell me I'm being an idiot for saying we shouldn't sign him. I'm like, sorry,
Nah,
I'm the
stinky.
idiot. Really? I don't know, man. I don't know. But boys, let's actually talk about tomorrow's game, shall we? Let me get this off the screen.
It's match day tomorrow.
Exactly. Hey, bro, we won the last game. We might win another one. Who knows?
Well, we didn't even deserve to win that one, brother.
Might catch Brentford, who knows, man.
How many games did we deserve to win and didn't? So, it was bound to come back at some point, I guess.
Yeah, we're overdue some luck.
Exactly. There you go. I will ask you guys what we think we should play, because obviously it's impossible to predict what Frank's going to do. In terms of team news, Ben Chilwell is out. Frank Lampard has confirmed that Lewis Hall will play a role. He also confirmed that he was tempted to bring him on in the last game, but then decided to play Aspi at left backs, and that's fun. But obviously, Reece James and Mason Mount are still out. Koulibaly is back in training, but not quite full training. Might be back next week, and the seemingly similar goes for Cucurella. But boys, last game, when we won a game, was a fullback, if I'm not mistaken. Do we do back four again, Dams? Do you reckon? Would you go for back four again?
It's a tough one, man. I personally don't like the back four with the players that we got, but I just know Frank's going to try and stick with a similar team. Obviously, with Chilwell being out, Cucurella being out, most likely end up being Lewis Hall there. But I personally go with the five at the back, just because I think we play better in that system, in my opinion anyway, with the players that we've got. But we know it's going to be a fullback, so yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's a tricky one because what I should mention, Wesley Fofana, of course, missed the last game with a little bit of an injury, should be back, the way I understood. I did, because the stream to Frank's press conference didn't start early enough to actually hear. Ter Stegen is not going to be as cheap as 40 million. You can get that straight out of your heads, guys. But Fofana apparently trained and should be fine, but I'm not sure whether that means he will play or not. I'm not sure. But Lewis, would you go back four again after we won in the back four last game? Or is especially potentially Lewis Hall being on the left side, does that mean a back three would be smarter?
I've hated the back four all season. Even in the win, I still hated it. No, I want a back five from now till the end of the season. But we know Lampard's going to play a four anyway, if we're going to be honest about it. So, yeah, we're going to have to firm it, and hopefully we get a win. But I would rather us play a five.
Okay,
I'd rather us play a five.
That's fine. Let's see what Aaron says. Well, we'll just go with the majority, I suppose. Aaron, back four, back 3/5 for you.
Are we doing what we think or what we want?
No, what we want.
Oh, back five.
All right. Back five it shall be then. Back five it shall be. Are you boys thinking 3-5-2 or 3-4-3?
3-4-3.
Yeah,
no more 3-5-2, please.
3-4-3 as well for you, Lewis?
Yeah, I'll go 3-4-3.
Oh wait, hold on,
right.
Laurenz. Did you say back four or back five?
I didn't say anything. I just went with what you guys went with, because I wasn't.
So what would you say then?
I would say, and I would probably say back five, I'm honest, just because of Lewis Hall and the right back situation. I just think that probably makes a bit more sense personally, but I'm not fussed either way. Like, if I'm honest, I don't think they take much from each other at the moment in terms of, one being much better than the other. I don't think it makes much of a difference. Now,
Forest can be up for this as well, man. Like, they literally won 4-3 the other day, didn't they? So they're going to be well up for it, man. They're still not safe as well. So
Exactly. I mean, the one thing I will say is, in terms of getting some confidence back in the squad, maybe sticking to the same formation we had in the last game when we finally won a game for the first time in months. Maybe that would be quite smart. But now we went for a 3-4-3. So here we are. We're going to fill the team in a 3-4-3. I agree with Lewis, though. It's most likely going to be a back four tomorrow, a 4-3-3 tomorrow, if we're being honest. And yeah, I know, Lewis, you need to go. Don't worry. I'll try to get through this as quickly as we can, and then we'll round it out. Anyway, I'll start with you, Lewis. Now, it is always Kepa in goal. It will be Kepa in goal. But would you still play Kepa, or would you still take him out, even though last game he didn't do anything wrong?
No, he was one of our better players on Saturday, to be honest. Had a couple good saves. I'd keep him in.
Fair enough. Aaron, would you keep him in, or would you throw Mendy in?
No, I'd wait to the last game of the season to throw Mendy and say a little, have your game and now fuck off. But for now, it's Kepa.
Fairs. Damesh, you as well? I mean, now you're going to be tough
Yeah,
ass
yeah.
to turn it around, but
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree with Kappa, man. Like, what's happened to Bettinelli, by the way? Like, just out of curiosity.
I don't think he was ever supposed to do any more than he has been doing, if I'm honest, bro.
Yeah, it was always a number 3. I was just
Yeah,
there
for
really.
vibes. Yeah, I'd start Kappa. Yeah, just
Bro, when I saw him, that goal he conceded against Villa in that friendly in December, I was like, so this is why Bettinelli hasn't played. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I thought that kind of was self-explanatory. Aaron, do the back three in one go for me. Who would you play in that back three, presuming that Wesley Fofana is fit?
If Fofana is fit, then it's Fofana, Silva, Badiashile.
Okay, I assume Badiashile on the left then.
Yes.
There you go.
Silva in the middle, Fofana on the right.
With Silva, I do always think you really need to play Silva now there's nothing to play for. But at the same
we
time,
might only have him
especially
for
if
like
there's a small
3
chance
games.
he's going to leave. Yeah, exactly. In the back three, other than Chalobah, who you can't really pick anyone else anyway. So
If he's got like 4 games left here, you might as well just play him.
that's true. If he is to leave, then absolutely has to play. But I'm still hoping and thinking that he might not leave. We'll see. Lewis, would you agree with that back three? Yeah, I assume we're probably going to agree with this one.
Yeah, perfect. I'm fine with that. That's our best back 3.
There you go. Damesh, you as well, yeah?
Yeah, clean sweep, man. Yeah, all good.
All right, I'll stick with you, Dums. Wing backs. Well, we don't have Chile and we don't have Cucurella available, so Lewis Hall, hope it's not Lewis Hall on the left, but it's left back or left wing back and not Aspie. I can't be having that. Do you know what I mean? Like, to bring him on for the last bit of a game like last week, fair enough. Even if I still didn't agree with him, but fair enough. But in this scenario, no. You better start Hall, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, by the way, what's happened to Chilwell? Because I haven't caught up on any news at all.
He pulled his hammy.
Oh shit! Again, fucking hell. Yeah, it's gonna have to be Lewis Hall then. We got no other choice. Obviously, Cucurella's injured, I'm assuming as well.
Yeah, exactly. He should be back maybe next week, but not yet.
Yeah, and I think,
What
on
about the
that
other
left
side,
hand. Yeah, I was gonna say on that left hand side as well. I think that Brennan Johnson plays on that side as well, so he's gonna have to be like really defensively astute
Or
as
just
well.
Brennan
like,
Johnson play on
point.
their right then, basically.
I think so. I can't remember what side actually he plays on, but I know he plays on one of the wings. Yeah,
I've had enough to deal with watching Chelsea this season. I can't lie. I'm not an expert in Nottingham Forest. So,
Brennan Johnson plays off the right and Morgan Gibbs White plays off the left.
Oh, okay.
No, so you are right, though.
Yeah.
What about the right side, though? Reece, of course, isn't available. Would you go Aspie? Would you go Ruben? Would you go for something more crazy than that? Those are the only real valid options because Chalobah, of course, at right back was an option, but I doubt he's an option at right wing back.
It's going to be Azpilicueta, but...
Well, it's going to be tricky because I doubt it's going to be this formation, but...
do you know what, boys? I'd stick Madueke there, you know?
Yeah.
Would you? I don't know. As a punt? Nah?
Nah, I'd just put Ruben there personally.
I mean, I guess if you played Madueke here and then played like Mudryk, Felix, Havertz, or Fofana, if you want to, then I guess Madueke at right wing back would be okay. But because you have Lewis Hall on the left, who is much better going forward than he is going backwards, Madueke might be a bit of a risky shout. But we'll see what Aaron says, and then we'll see what we put up here.
I do think it'll be Ruben though. Yeah,
probably Ruben. Lewis said Ruben. Dom's kind of Ruben, but had a shout for Madueke. Would you make it that shout, Aaron, or would you go for Ruben as well?
No, I'd go Lewis Hall and Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well because I think where you line it up now, it's a 3-4-3. But I feel like if you play them two, at times you can transition it between a 3 and a 4, where Lewis Hall dropping into left back, Fofana playing as a right back, and then Ruben going into like a midfield 3. So it gives you that flexibility between the two formations. So I'd go Ruben and Lewis Hall, but I think we all know it's probably going to be Azpilicueta. Whether it's right back, right wing back, left back, whatever the fuck he plays, it's probably going to be Aspie.
There you go. Fair enough. Midfield, boys. Now, one thing that I should have probably informed the chat and you guys of. So Lewis Hall was not allowed to go to the Under-20s World Cup. Carney Chukwuemeka, though, he is now, I think, already for tomorrow not available because of the Under-20s World Cup, but I'm not 1,000,000% sure of that. So yeah, there's a chance he turns up tomorrow all of a sudden. I doubt he starts, but I think he's already not available because of the Under-20s World Cup. So if you were considering Chukwuemeka, maybe take him out of your consideration.
Do you not think that's very concerning?
On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, I'm like, he hasn't been playing anyway. We have a lot of midfielders.
That's exactly what I mean. The fact that he's not had any game time and he's not even in the plans, he's allowed to leave. But Lewis Hall is allowed to stay. He's not allowed to go. He's made to stay to get game time, but Chukwuemeka isn't. I find that
we
really
don't have
odd.
midfield injuries.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the left back situation as well. With
I think
Chile
if we had three midfielders injured, we wouldn't have allowed
Chukwuemeka to go.
Yeah.
Even then, with the way he's been treated, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually did tell us to fuck off and went anyway.
No,
Yeah.
Or that, absolutely. But Lewis, then if there is no Chukwuemeka available, who would you play in this double pivot? Enzo and Kante, keeping it simple, but at the same time, I'm kind of in a position where I'm like, can't we just play some like youngsters? I know Lewis Hall is in there now, but then again, it's pointless playing Gallagher because he will leave as well. So it can't really be bothered for him either, even if he did okay last week and scored the goal and stuff.
No, I wouldn't play Gallagher in a double pivot anyway. We're asking to get cooked with that. Enzo Kante, keep it simple, and yeah, I don't think there's anyone else who justifies their position in midfield anyway.
Oh, I agree. I mean, if Carney was here, I might have just, even though I don't think he's a pivot player, I might have just shouted for him to start anyway. But if he's not available,
go for it.
Exactly. If he's not available, it is what it is. Aaron, Enzo and Kante then?
Yep.
Dams, you're going to agree with that too?
Yeah, Enzo and Kante. What's happened to Zakaria, by the way, as well? Just not getting
I forgot about him. Yeah, but I mean, we're not going to sign him permanently, let's be honest now. So what's the point in playing him at this point?
Yeah, true. Yeah, Enzo and Kante for me as well, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Fair enough. I mean, next week, we don't have a midweek game, but the week after we do. So I guess then maybe for Kante, we have to maybe slightly consider how many times he will play. Laurenz must be secretly in love with Ruben. Now, first of all, it's not secretly. I am very publicly in love with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. But also, how did you come to this now? I barely mentioned Ruben. But anyway, fair enough. Let's do the front three. Lewis, I know you need to head off, so I'll let you go first so you can then dip after. Who would you play as the front three then in this 3-4-3, which unfortunately isn't real wingers, which is kind of a bit of an issue for Madueke and Mudryk a little bit, which is a problem, I guess.
I'd just go Mudryk, Felix, Madueke. Best three forwards we have. There you go. And yeah, hopefully they can find the net.
No Mount or Havertz, Lewis?
Oh, no chance. No chance.
You will say this again, and at halftime, Havertz will come on again, and then we will be much better second half, and then you will say nothing.
Because
again.
Havertz is better off the bench.
Nah, all the other options are just so much worse than he is. He's not good either. Last week he was dreadful, let's be honest. But the others are just all worse. No, Felix up front is a different situation. Who knows? But I just worry about, Forest, because the way they play, they park the bus, they hit on a counter. Is the team parking the bus the team to play Felix up top? I don't know. But
is it the team to play Havertz up top?
No. But he's more suited to it than Felix is because you can
might as well try something different. Like I've been there, done that with Havertz.
No shout for David Dutcher for Fafana in your mind?
Yeah, might as well. But I've heard he's been stinking up with the under-21s. That's why you don't get any game time here. So if that's the case, you might as well give it to Felix. Oba don't want to be here, so don't play him anymore. And whatever.
No, exactly. All right, Lewis. Well, I appreciate you for your input, for your insight for the raid earlier. So everybody, please do subscribe to Lewis's channel if you haven't already. Link is down in the description. Yeah, Lewis, we'll chat to you soon.
You got my guys. Have a great night. Take care, everybody.
Cheers, bro. Cheers. There you go. Dums, I'll go with you. Would you agree with Lewis's front three, or would you change something about it?
Yeah, no, I'd stick with the same front three. I think this is the best front three that we've got. And yeah, let's just, I guess, try and build some chemistry, because if Felix is here next season, we're going to have to try and build some chemistry with these guys. So yeah.
The more I see this, especially now that we're talking about the forwards, the more I regret giving you guys the back five. I can't lie. Because I just don't think Mudryk is like ideal when he has to be inside. The same goes for Madueke. Both, especially Madueke, shined so much last week, being able to stay wide. Now, obviously, with Ruben on that side, I guess Madueke could stay wide and Ruben could come central. So it's possible. But yeah, fair enough. Aaron, do you also agree on the front three, or would you throw someone else in there?
No, I don't. I would go for Felix, Havertz, and Madueke. I think you see it a lot. As much as I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm Havertz's biggest fan, but you see it when you don't have an aerial presence up front.
Right, so you're taking Mudryk out for Felix. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I feel like when you see us play at times and we have no aerial presence up front, it's hard to sort of win those sort of knockdowns, have the hold-up play to bring the two other wider players in. And that's why I feel like Havertz is important in these types of games. I get it, he's better off the bench, I agree. But in these types of situations, I feel like where you don't have an out-and-out number 9 who can do that, and he's the next best alternative, I feel like he has to sort of take that responsibility and jump in that role. So I'd play him on the up top. And then Madueke, he's been in such good form. He's a joy to watch. I feel like with him on that side, he's able to cut in on his left. You can have Ruben overlapping him. So that sort of sorts out that right-hand side. And the reason I took Mudryk out is because he likes to really hug that touchline, that left-hand side. He's literally always near the byline. It's sort of like what Grealish does for City, but he does a lot of that. And I think when you're playing with Lewis Hall in behind you, who's not as experienced, he's not as great defensively, he likes to push up a bit, but he likes to invert. I feel like it can assist with Felix. I get it, like the inverting of Lewis Hall would help with Mudryk on the left side, but I feel like Felix just adds that something a little bit different. I think Mudryk hasn't really. He's been okay when he's played, but I feel like hugging the touchline doesn't help him too much. I feel like he needs to get inside a bit more. So I feel like playing Felix there, he plays inside a little bit more, and then bring Mudryk off the bench.
In this position, the winger wouldn't hug the touchline anyway. So maybe this, if by your logic, and I'd at least be intrigued to see it. Maybe that's exactly what we need to see from Mudryk. Because has Mudryk even started a game in a 3-4-3? I'm not sure.
No, but then same way, like when players have such positional discipline, some players do, some players don't. I feel like where he's so used to playing out wide, like properly out wide, I feel like you end up seeing a lot of that even in this formation with him just drifting out there and staying sort of by the byline. So I'd probably go with Felix instead of Mudryk. But I think those two are interchangeable as either Mudryk or Felix for me. But I think Havertz goes up top anyway. Yeah.
See, this is what I agree with, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think Havertz needs to start up top, and then you can decide if you need to between those two. I would probably go Mudryk rather than Felix. I still don't think we should keep Felix personally, because I just don't think it's what we need right now. I just don't think it's where we should put our resource in terms of spending money on the loan, spending money on wages. But hey, here we are. Boys, we're going to finish it off, so I'll let you both go in a second. Finish it off with score prediction. Should have got that out of loose, but hey, here we are. Dums, do you reckon we get another dub tomorrow? Maybe even at least a point tomorrow? Or is it back to losing?
Well, we're Forest now. I was going to say 19th place for us, but they're not 19th anymore. They're not 16th or 17th, I think, now. Obviously, they're not completely out of relegation. They have to obviously pick up points and stay in the Premier League. So I think it'll be a tough game, but I think
16th now, actually. Yeah.
Or 16th, yeah. So, yeah, obviously, we've come off a win. I'm going to back us to win. I think 2-0, I think, tomorrow.
Fair dues. Aaron, score prediction.
I think we're going to go for 2-1. I think we are going to concede because we're Forest are sort of still fighting for their lives. They're going to throw a lot at it, but I do think we'll have that little edge now that we've got that win. We're safe in the division. We've got our 40 points. I feel like we're going to be pushing on a little bit more now. Try to end the season a bit stronger. So I'm going to go 2-1.
Fair enough. To be honest, I was probably also thinking 2-1. Honestly, my real prediction might be a 1-1, but I don't really want to say that, so I'm going to go with Aaron's 2-1.
You just said it, bro.
No.
I'm going to screen record this and clip you. Don't worry. We've heard it now.
But hey, I purposely didn't jinx it. You know what I mean? But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't told you at all today, which is poor from me, really. But subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be massively appreciated. Although chances are most of you that are still here probably already subscribed. But if you're not, please do subscribe. Hit that like button on your way out. That would be massively appreciated. But yeah, shout out to Aaron, shout out to Damesh, shout out to Lewis. Of course, check out Lewis's channel. Now, the link is down in the description. Follow Damesh on Twitter. Follow Aaron on Twitter. The links are down in the description as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.